Today I thought I'd try something a little bit different and read to you a story from Fleshtones, an anthology. This story is called Hallo, Spaceboy. Space, a place that manages to be both the most beautiful thing a person can see and the most soul-destroying. My parents always used to say that I had wanted to be an astronaut since the moment I could walk. They were right. I even made myself a helmet out of old cereal boxes and I wore that sucker everywhere I went. I'd seen so many documentaries and science fiction movies growing up that it absolutely sparked a lifelong obsession. None of that prepared me for actually being here. I don't think anything could have been done. I felt lost and confused. I wasn't even sure that I existed among all of this. The darkness and emptiness made me feel small and forgotten. That wasn't the worst thing about it all. That was the complete and utter silence of it all. Even when I tried to make the radio in my helmet work, I still couldn't hear anything other than the sound of my breathing. Then came the never-ending parade of loneliness creeping into my mind and trying to break me from within. In front of my very eyes, the dense blackness started to shimmer and move, leaving me to wonder if I was going insane as I drifted away from the damaged vessel I'd called my home for the last 6 weeks. What the? Colours started to appear and mix with one another until it turned into a flash of a bright pinkish tone. The more it moved, the quicker it began to take shape before setting on a jagged 8-point star. I floated in front of it, completely out of control of my own movements. All I could do was settle myself into accepting whatever my fate would be. Was it trying to give me some form of hope where there was none? Was it my mind trying to play tricks on me? If it was my mind playing tricks, then it would certainly explain a lot, especially with what I was seeing. A man was floating in front of me with a smile on his face. It wasn't just any man either. Looking like he hadn't a care in the world was David Bowie himself, complete with sequin-covered catsuit, multicoloured lightning bolt across one of his eyes, and wearing a pair of the highest platform boots that I had ever seen. The thing that made it even stranger was the fact that he looked crudely and simply animated and moved like a character from a classic Scooby-Doo episode. "Hello, Spaceboy," he said, holding out his arms in greeting. He looked rather pleased with himself. He also looked pleased to see me. I, on the other hand, had probably looked as confused as I was feeling. I didn't know what else to do other than blink. I had no words, my mind was blank, and I just stared at this cartoon man in front of me. "Hello, Spaceboy," he said again in that clipped sing-song voice of his. Somehow, I could hear him clearly as if we were having a normal conversation with one another. The fact that we were both floating in space didn't seem to matter to him, nor did the fact that I needed to wear this heavy, awkward spacesuit, and yet he didn't. Hi. I could barely hear my own voice, but from this beaming smile on his face, the cartoon David Bowie could hear me perfectly. Seeing him in front of me brought back memories of listening to vinyl records with my dad. They were some of my favourite memories, as well as the reason for my hugely varied music taste. Dad? I don't really know why I'd asked him that when he clearly wasn't my dad. He was clearly a cartoon version of David Bowie. "Are you really here?" Cartoon Bowie patted himself down and then shrugged. "Yes, I suppose I am. Where else would I be? Sitting in a tin can?" It was all starting to make sense now. The lack of oxygen getting to my brain was making me imagine things that weren't really there. That's why an animated David Bowie was floating in front of me. It was linked to my memories. It had to be. Otherwise, why the hell would I be looking at an animated version of my dad's favourite singer? "Why are you dressed like David Bowie?" The figure seemed rather bemused by my question before, once again shrugging. "Well, seems as good a place for it as any other." Weirdly, his reply made complete sense to me, and I couldn't be bothered to question him anymore. As I floated, my body seemed to turn slightly as he watched. "Are you okay? You seem to be floating in the most peculiar way." "Oh, ha ha, very funny, brain, very bloody funny. Let's make classic rock references while my own body movements are out of control. Yeah, that's really fair. That's downright hilarious. Thanks for that. Why are you here? He looked at me sympathetically and reached out, touching my helmet. Does it matter? There was a strange sensation that I was flying now that he had touched me. I couldn't shake it, and I felt lighter, freer, and even hopeful. No, I don't suppose it does. The one fault to which I kept coming back to was the simple fact that my home was so far away. I couldn't even see Earth anymore. There was just darkness and the strange pink star that had appeared, and now it grew even larger the closer I floated to it. I really wanted to reach out and touch it to see if it was really there or if that, too, was a figment of my imagination. Gesturing at the wreckage of my ship, the figure shook his head sadly. Just ignore the mice in their million hordes. This is all about you now. I looked at the bodies floating around the wreckage. They were still attached to the ship, making it look like some kind of horrific decoration. Their faces were completely white, as were their eyes, but there was nothing I could do for them. They were very clearly dead. Selfishly, I couldn't help but wonder if anyone was missing me, or if anyone would miss me. After all, they were very excited for me when I told them that I would be going into space. They cheered, they threw parties, they even spoke about me on the news. I wonder if they would do that now I was lost. Would there be a tearful press conference? Would it even warrant a brief mention in the middle of a local newspaper? I felt a surge of anger flow through me, and we had our entire lives ahead of us. We were the youngest crew to ever go to space. That was pretty exciting, right? Something to be remembered. It wasn't important now. Not now. Barry turned me to face the pink star. It had grown even larger, and a strange light was pulsating from the middle. It's my time, isn't it? I knew the answer to my question already and tried to choke back the feeling of bile rising in my throat as the fear started to take hold of me. It is, mate, it is, he said kindly as he put his arm around my shoulders. So let's take you home. I nodded and allowed the light to swallow us up without looking back. If I had even glanced behind me, I'd have seen my body floating with my limbs at horrific angles, and I'd have seen my visor smashed to pieces and a large bloody lightning bolt-shaped wound across one eye.